Hi class, we're still on our notes for section 7.7. Now instead of multiplying, dividing, adding, subtracting these functions together, what these are called are composite functions or composites of functions, where the process is that you're going to put one function into the other and evaluate. So you're not going to multiply them together or divide, add, subtract. You put one function into the other function. Here's what I mean by that. When we read this, it reads f of g of x. F of g of x. The process here is you always work right to left. You see this g, and you need to put it into the f function. So whatever g of x is, which is right here, you're going to put it into the f of x function. So you're going to put this into the f of x function. So right here. So f of g of x equals this. 3x squared minus x minus 4. However, we're going to put g into that. So every time we see an x, we're going to put 2x minus 1. Every time we see an x, we're going to put in 2x minus 1, because that's what g of x equals. So once again, we're reading this right to left. The g of x, we're putting it into the f of x. So we have 3 times the quantity, x squared. And what is x? X is 2x minus 1. That quantity squared. Minus x, which x is now 2x minus 1. So minus the quantity 2x minus 1. And then we have our positive 4. And now, class, all we do is simplify the right side, and we are done. So we have 3 times the quantity, 2x minus 1 squared is the same thing as 2x minus 1 times 2x minus 1 minus the quantity 2x minus 1 plus 4. So now we're going to FOIL this part. So we have 3 times 2x is 4x squared. Here's a negative 2x, and here's a negative 2x, making a negative 4x. And a negative 1 times a negative 1 is a positive 1. Let's distribute this negative sign. So it's a negative 2x plus 1 plus 4. Now, we'll distribute this 3. So we have 12x squared minus 12x plus 3 minus 2x plus 1 plus 4. All right, now we can simply combine like terms. So we have 12x squareds. We have a negative 14x's. 3 plus 1 is 4. 4 plus 4 is 8. We have 12x squared minus 14x plus 8. That's what f of g of x equals. So bring this down. F of g of x. F of g of x equals 12x squared minus 14x plus 8. Hopefully that makes sense. All you did was put whatever g of x equals into the f of x function. We're going to practice more of that. You're going to see it like this. Some people just say it's fog of x. It's actually spoken f of g of x. It's also written like this at times. This is the same thing as g of f of x. If you were to put it in the same notation as our last one, it's still read as g of f of x. G of f of x. And you still work from right to left. You put the f into the g function. So here's our g function. It's 2x minus 1. We're going to put f of x into that. So that goes in there. So every time you see an x, you're going to put in 3x squared minus x plus 4. So g of f of x equals, here's our g of x, so we're going to say it's 2 times x. And what does x equal now? It equals 3x squared minus x plus 4. 3x squared minus x plus 4. So 2 times x, which we did, and then subtract 1. Now we simply simplify the right side. So distributing that 2, we get 6x squared minus 2x plus 8. And then we still have our minus 1. So our answer is 6x squared minus 2x plus 7. That is what g of f of x equals. 6x squared minus 2x plus 7. All right. Now that you've learned how to do f of g of x and g of f of x, now class, what we're going to do is we're going to evaluate a number for these. So instead of getting a bunch of variables in our answer, such as this one, we're going to get one solid number. Okay? So f of g of x for when x equals a negative 2. So we're going to continue with this theme of working from right to left. X equals a negative 2. Okay? So now we're going to put a negative 2 into the g function. And once we do that, we're going to get a number, and then we're going to put that into our f function. So f of g of x for which x equals a negative 2. The first thing we're going to do is this negative 2 we're going to put into the g function. So the g function is right here. So g of a negative 2 equals this. 2 times x, which x is a negative 2, and then we're subtracting 1. So what is this? It's a negative 4 minus 1, so it is a negative 5. So g of a negative 2 equals a negative 5. So here's what we've done so far, class. In our theme of working from right to left, we have put a negative 2 into our g function. And now we're going to put that into our f function. So what are we going to put into our f function? Not negative 2. We're going to put what g of negative 2 equals, which is a negative 5. Negative 5 is going to go into our f function. So we're going to have f of a negative 5. What does that equal? Here's our f function. It's 3 times x squared. So 3 times x, which x is now a negative 5. Negative 5 squared. Minus a negative 5. And then we have our positive 4 at the end. So now simplifying the right side. A negative 5 times a negative 5 is a positive 25. And a positive 25 times 3 is a positive 75. So this whole thing becomes a positive 75. Distribute the negative. A negative 1 times a negative 5 is a positive 5 plus 4. 75 and 5 is 80. 80 plus 4 is 84. So our answer, the way I want you to write it, is this. F of g of x, f of g, and then actually instead of putting x, f of g of a negative 2. F of g of a negative 2 equals 84. Instead of putting x there, we evaluated when x was a negative 2, so f of g of a negative 2 equals 84. In summary, you put a negative 2 into g and got a negative 5. Then you put a negative 5 into f and you got 84. So here's our answer, 84. If that's a little confusing right now, you have 2 more example problems to get a more understanding of this. Now we're going to put a negative 2 into the f, and then whatever we get there, put into the g. So g of f of a negative 2, first put the negative 2 into the f function. Here's our f function. So f of a negative 2 equals 3 times x squared, and x is now a negative 2 squared, minus a negative 2 plus 4. A negative 2 squared is a positive 4, and 4 times 3 is 12. 12 minus a minus 2, which is 12 plus 2, plus 4. 12 and 2 make 14, and 14 plus 14 is 18. So f of a negative 2 is 18. So we have successfully done this part. Now we got to put that into the g function. So here's our g function, 2x minus 1. So g of 18, g of f of a negative 2, which f of a negative 2 is 18, g of 18 equals, here's our g function, 2 times x, so 2 times 18, subtract 1. 2 times 18 is 36, and 36 minus 1, our answer is 35. 35 is what we get when we have g of f of a negative 2. G of f of a negative 2. All right, last one. Working from right to left. This one's going to be a doozy, but nothing too difficult as long as we remember the process. Once again, the math isn't very hard in this lesson. It's the notation that can kind of be tricky. 3 goes into G. We get a number. G goes into H. We get a number. H goes into F, and then we finally get our number. I actually probably said that wrong. Forget I even said that. Here's what we get. 3 of G is a number. Put that number into H. You get another number. Put that number into F, and you get our answer. Working from right to left. So first we have G of 3. So here's our G function. Put a 3 in there. 2 times 3 minus 1. 2 times 3 is 6. 6 minus 1 is 5. So this equals 5. Put that 5 into our H. Here's our H. H of 5 equals 4 times x. And x is now 5. So 4 times 5 is 20. So all of this now equals 20. Put that into our f function. Here's our f function. Every time you see an x, you're going to put in 20. So f of 20 equals 3x squared. 3 times 20 squared. Minus x, so minus 20 plus 4. 20 squared is 400. 400 times 3 is 1200. Minus 20 plus 4. 1200 plus 20 is 1180. Plus 4 is 1184. Our answer is 1184, and let's define it the correct way. All you got to do is basically rewrite this. F of H. F of H of G of 3. F of H of G of 3 equals 1184. And there's our answer for the last one. So hopefully that made sense to you. The math, pretty simple. The notation can be much more difficult. Be sure to ask me questions if you have them on this assignment. It's going to be a worksheet that I'm going to hand out to you in class. Page 387, 20, 32 through 38 evens, 47 and 48. There's also one Excel math objective on this lesson. Be sure to ask me questions if you have them.